The federal government has said they're going to withhold about $2 billion in funding to the state of Minnesota because of fraud in our Medicaid programs, and now the state is pushing back.
Yeah, the state pushing back federal Medicaid funding. More than $2 billion a year, as you said, is now at the center of this high-stakes dispute between Minnesota and the Trump administration. The head of the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, Dr. Oz, announced last week in a social media video and post that the federal government would withhold funding from 14 Minnesota Medicaid programs at high risk for fraud and conduct its own audit, saying that the state's corrective plan that they'd ordered and given them a few weeks to do does not go far enough. Today, Minnesota formally appealed that decision. State officials say cutting off that funding would destabilize healthcare across Minnesota, especially for low-income families and people with disabilities and children.
Unfortunately, CMS's recent decision to withhold Medicaid funds is putting the people whom both agencies are sworn to serve at risk. Minnesota cannot absorb the loss of more than $2 billion in annual funding for these programs without catastrophic consequences for the people we serve.
State officials argue they've already taken significant steps to combat fraud, including halting new providers, ending the Housing Stabilization Services program altogether. Minnesota is now requesting an administrative hearing, calling the threatened federal funding freeze unprecedented. And just here late this afternoon, President Trump said in Detroit that he's cutting off all federal funding to sanctuary states and cities. What funding exactly he's talking about is not clear yet, but this is certainly not the end of the story.
Two massive stories. We appreciate your insight.